ring light. It's right over there. I could get it. If it's a distraction for anybody. Now let's see if we can move this back. I want you guys to see him and not me. I mean, I don't care if you see me, but. All right, so this is going to be kind of a newly organized maybe, or a new approach to a topic that is a recurring topic on the channel in my life. I think we should all be looking at certain things at this time, especially knowing what we know. And I want this video to be easily accessible and pretty much user-friendly. So I'm gonna dive right into the topic, and we're trying a new thing with the background because it's here and we can do that. Because I still trust my cell phone more than I trust, oh shoot, you might not be able to see him now because of the chat. Anyways, I trust my cell phone a little bit more than I trust my laptop. So we're gonna do it this way again. I put up a very interesting photo that I found about this topic. I wonder if I could turn the chat off just for a minute so anybody watching can check it out for a second. There we go. All right, so we're gonna take a look at, I want people to be able to see that. So I'll leave it up for a little bit just to give people a chance to come in and say, hey, what are we talking about? And I can point to him or whatever. There he is. This is what we're talking about today. There's his head and his arm and his feet. So that is the guy, the topic of this video. I'm going to try and keep this about 30 minutes. The dogs need a little break from each other anyway. I'm going to bake some cookies in a little bit. It's already been a heck of a day with the heater fritzing out and stuff, so I need some adult time to just sit and read and you know, exercise my mind a little bit and to look into some mysterious, strange things. Already I started falling down a rabbit hole, so what we're going to do, again, this is a recurring topic that we bring up on the channel for a variety of reasons, and it is connected to everything else, to what we feel like is our timeline errors, to our history, true history, to the occult and things that are hidden is what I mean when I say that, and national parks and missing people as well. So this video is, there's a method to my madness, and there's a reason that we look at the things we're looking at, but we've never approached it in the way we're going to approach it today. So we're going to do just one statue and look at all the different things that I research when I look at these things, to give anyone who finds the channel, you know, not everybody's good at research. They don't always know what to plug in. Because you could approach this a variety of ways. And if you look worldwide, there are so many of these all over the place now. And I don't know if they've just started revealing them, or again, people just got interested, or with the advent of the internet, you'll see as always, it's a little bit of all these things attributing or contributing to the factors of these large humanoid statues being unveiled, relocated, moved around, and what is going on here. And again, we're going to get into a little bit of HighStrangeness. I was going to say mythology, but mythology simply means history. They have people thinking that that means fake, and that's not actually what it means. So this is the guy we're talking about. The statue, they're calling it a statue, and his name, what he is called the Awakening. Now I'm going to take my glasses off because I don't need them for this bit, and I could turn the chat back on, but I want people to be able to kind of look at him, because you'll notice in the background here is something called the White House or the Washington, D.C. Tea Room. I would swear that this is what they used to show when they showed us the White House. Now they show that January 6th wing. I don't know if that's the East Wing or what that is, but I'd swear that when I was growing up and you'd see the guys visiting the White House and walking in and out, that it was flat like this and that there were several pillars. But this is called the tea room. Actually, and this is funny, it's called the Girl Scout tea room. A little strange. again, knowing what we know now about how these children are indoctrinated very young and brought into these secret societies, whether hijinks go on or not, I would say in every group there are hijinks. So before we get into this topic, let me just make it clear. I don't have anything against our history, our true history, nor do I have anything against anyone for the way they look or the way that they were born. That's a thing you kind of can't help. I mean, you can dye your hair and you can make modifications, but for all intents and purposes, I don't hate people because of their outer appearance and things like that. Um, and giants, I think, could be awfully helpful, and there are some saints, allegedly, like Saint Christopher, that was of giant stature. My problem is with cannibals, and as we've seen, a lot of these rabbit holes lead to cannibalism. Now, what's really interesting about this guy, The Awakening it's called, and again, I know people have seen it, but we're approaching it from kind of a different angle. What's interesting about him, and I did not know this, I didn't know you were allowed to do this, I guess. I thought since it was federal lands that there were restrictions on certain things. But he started his beginnings, his advent, where his origin story originates, is in a national park. Kind of strange, isn't it, that a statue of a frightening giant who is trying to come through the earth, when they first installed him, his first location was in a national park. Now, that's actually what this area is. You have the Girl Scout tea room right there, and then you have this guy. So I'm going to read you the bio, some of the background information on this character, and his and the person who made him, because he has an elitist name, the artist, and we'll get into that. So here's some quick facts, some bullet points, if you will. The Awakening statue facts, the location, history, and artist. It right now, where it was relocated to, is National Harbor, Maryland, USA, just outside of Washington, D.C. They actually made a fake beach for this guy, which again, if you know your cryptozoology, it's kind of strange that they would do that, because there's a lot of newer urban legends that speak about giants catching people in very similar manners. And creepypastas came around way after this guy, or at least these urban legends did. At least their new birth, I guess, maybe. The year of the creation of him was in 1980. Now, he's made of aluminum, which when you get into the alchemical side of things, aluminum is all kind of different things. And aluminum, I'm not a doctor, no part of this is medical advice, but they know now, and we know this, it's not good for humans. It's not good for human consumption, and it can cause all kinds of things to go into disarray with a human being. So I just thought that was interesting. Now, the guy who made him is J. Seward Johnson Jr. Guess who his family is? You guessed it, Johnson & Johnson. Ironically enough, considering what aluminum can do to human beings and the human body, especially if it's in things like deodorant, Johnson & Johnson is under fire and has been for years. That was one of the posts I made on social media that started to get me canceled. The rest, I've told you the rest of the story. But I was kind of becoming proactive or vocal about the big C, because I had taken care of my dad as he passed and a lot of other people. But Johnson & Johnson, because of their products, even their baby products, cause certain things. And I remember my spouse's aunt jumped on me on Facebook and was like, well, tobacco causes all kind of things, but you use it. And I said, well, they have a warning, and I'm an adult. Children have all kinds of things put on them by their adults. So I thought it was interesting that the person who made this chose aluminum, and considering everything that we know about these products of Johnson & Johnson, and all the lawsuits that are public knowledge. So his original location is called Haynes Point, Washington, D.C. Now, I'm going to remind you of something about Washington, D.C. that we've spoken about, and it's going to get into the high strangeness of this in just a moment. So just bear with me. The movement of the statue. He moved to National Harbor in 2008. The Awakening is a significant piece of public art that has become a landmark in the National Harbor area. Its location and history reflect the artist's vision and the city's commitment to public art and cultural expression. The statue's presence in National Harbor adds to the area's charm and serves as a reminder of the creative talents that contribute to the nation's artistic heritage. Now, you might not believe this, but I had to take a screenshot of it, and I might share that on the community tab. These bullet points that AI, I guess, generates now for me, even without me consenting to that. Uh, you know how it has a little link next to it and you can click on it if you want? Well, the location, National Harbor, there are 6 links attached. The artist, 6 links attached. Year of creation, 6 links attached. Location, 6 links attached. To every one of the bullet points, the number is 6. And again, these, I don't know if it's part of the natural algorithm of the creator of this realm, but you see these numbers do tend to follow people around. There is something to that. I've seen it. And I've actually done some testimonial videos about that. Another thing about this picture and why I chose this one, this is before he was moved. I'm very interested in this original location. And I'm also interested in the fact that this is obviously of some type of flood, right? What's weird about this, like, is this a flood or is this all, like, is this in the middle? It looks like from above that it's, that the tea room, the tea house is on an island, right? And then it's surrounded by water, of course, because they love their islands. But when you see where he was moved to, this is always all you see of the quote-unquote statue. You always see just this much face, just this much arm, just that much arm. So if things are flooded, how far is where's the ground? Do you see what I'm getting at? I don't know if you get what I'm getting at there. I'm trying to explain it, and I don't want to come right out and be like, this is all you see once he's moved to. So if that's flat land where he was moved to, and this is flooded right now, what's in between? If he's just a statue, if he's just 5 pieces and there's nothing else there, there's no body. Do you see what I'm saying? Because again, we're going to get into high strangeness in this video. So if you're new here, this is what we do. Okay, so let's look at a couple other things about this statue itself. We're going to look at a quick overview because, again, the numbers are significant. So we're going to go to the actual Wikipedia page. There are a lot of photos of this guy. It's actually a movie location. And the girl, let me pull up another link as well. Thank you for bearing with me. Like I said, this video isn't going to be super long, but I do want to go over a few different things so that you get an idea of what I think is going on. And again, there's a lot of moving parts to this, but I think either people were trying to warn us of something or there's something going on with these statues worldwide that are of giant stature and they're super detailed. If you pull up the pictures of him, somebody went through a lot of, J. Seward Jr. went through a lot of trouble to make it look like he actually, like there's fingerprints, right? That's kind of strange. So I'm going to open something and I want to read you a little bit of what this lady has to say as well. Now, what I did was I started looking for like giant statues all over and then recent giant statues. And it just got to be, there was too much information. So I think what we'll do is we'll go over each statue. Why we started here though is because he's in a national park. That's where he was installed, allegedly. Now this link is from 2017 and I will attach it. It actually looks a little bit like, I can never say the word, Tupelo Peke, or what is that site that that sacred ancient site? It looks like that because they have like railings and a ramp that goes down to this guy and they actually made a beach for him to lie on. So I don't know if this area is always has water there and the island is just like, it's just not that deep, or there's something else going on if he's more than just the 5 parts, the head and the two, you know, the 2 arms and the 2 limbs. I think that's strange. So this person gets to talking, and honestly, I don't like her writing style, so I'm not going to read to you, like, it's a travel blog, so I'm not going to read it all to you. But there's a lot of pictures here, too, of, like, children climbing around on his head and stuff. Could you imagine if you really were, like, a sleeping giant? And I have to say, the face itself is frightening. Like it's scary. It is not meant to be a cute whatever. It says, the sculpture is made up of 5 half-buried cast aluminum parts representing the hand, arm, head, knee, and foot of a distressed giant struggling to break through the Earth's surface. Now, what else is interesting? I'm going to leave him for a minute, and I'm going to go to this area because we've talked a little bit about this, but this is how it's connected to what we talk about now and this current era that we're in since at least 2018, since the first eclipse. Da-da-da. Now I got a lot of links put up here, so just give me a minute. No. If I have that up here. What is their name? Hold, please. I'm going to have to punch it in because... Now, the last people, I'm going to read to you something real quick. The Susquehannock Nation was one of the last Native American tribes to settle in the region that is now Washington, D.C. They inhabited the Susquehanna River area, which is now part of Pennsylvania and New York. The Susquehannock were politically independent from the Iroquois Confederacy and had a significant presence in the Susquehanna Valley before European colonization. Their population declined sharply due to disease and warfare, leading to their extinction in the late 17th century. Think about this. One of the reasons that allegedly that the old Native Americans, when they first met you, that they would hold their hand up and they would say how, hello, it's a greeting, is to see that you had 5 fingers and that you did not have a 6th digit. Because even if you were their size, that's how they knew. If you had something like that, an extra toe, which allegedly Marilyn Monroe had an extra toe. Keep listening. It gets weirder. They would know instantly if you had the genes of these giants. The problem with these giants is that they were cannibalistic. Now, I know we've heard that the Native Americans beat away the red-headed giants and that they beat them into caves and they beat them into submission. I mean, like, not literally and figuratively. So that's what's going on in one area of the nation, right? But apparently some of the Native Americans were of giant stature too, because that's what they say. These people were limber and tall and basically what we would call today a giant humanoid, because they were from like 7 to 8 feet tall, which is still kind of small for like the giants that we're talking about today right now. So think about that. The last tribe that settled in D.C. allegedly beat into extinction in the late 17th century, with not a whole lot talked about there. Think about Biden and how people are saying he's been an imposter through his last years. I did that first video on the original channel, and again, this is a topic when I bring it up, My channel gets mercilessly tormented. I get all kind of weird things going on in my life. They don't like me talking about this topic. But people need warned. They need to understand where you're at. Cameras are deceptive in more than one way. Size is one of those ways in which a camera can be used to deceive you. It can make things that are big look a lot smaller, and it can make things that are small look a lot bigger, much like the Alice in Wonderland. If you think about Biden, and I did a video on this, you'd have to go back to the playlist, and I'm sure other people did as well. Him and his wife, Jill, got a picture taken of them with another president and his wife, I forget, who has since passed away since their visit. But they were visiting with them. And Biden was kneeling on his knee, and his arm was around the chair. And Biden looked about 9 feet, and this former president, looked about 3 or 4 feet. I did a video on that. They published the picture in mainstream media. I have a theory that every 100 years, these things wake up. And also that some of us have blended mixed genes. And we also know from previous research and videos that cannibalism is a curse. It is thought to be a curse. That's not just from witchcraft. That's not just from Native American lore. It's also in the Bible that there are curses all over the place. And in Baruch, it talks about a cannibalism curse. And it's been my theory for a while, and I'm going to bring up a couple more people. Taylor Swift, I did a video on her with Sabrina Carter. If you look at, and they do these things on purpose to see who notices. And to mock us. Sabrina Carpenter is a lot shorter than Taylor Swift. They said that Sabrina Carpenter is 5 foot something, like 1 or 2. That girl's not, I'm 5 foot. And there's no way she's that short. And I forget, she was standing next to something, and I'm like, no, she's taller than I am. But if you look at the two of them on stage, Taylor Swift is a very tall being. I think Hollywood and DC use cameras to deceive us, and I think a lot of them are the descendants of these types of humans. And again, I have nothing against them per se. I have something against the generational deception and lies about what's actually going on here. So let's look a little bit at a couple more things about this guy. He was made out of aluminum. He was installed in 1980 in a national park, which is DC, which is our alleged capital of the nation. And I've come to the point now, I believe that America is an experiment, and I think it's a psychological prison. I don't even know if it's an actual, if they count it the way we think they do. But I'll get into that in another video. The Awakening from 1980 to 80 is a 72 foot, which is 22 meters. We've talked about the year 1972 being a big thing with wickedness. I don't know why, it just is. They say there are 72 names of God, 72 names for demons, for different demons. 72 is also 22 meters, which I've done videos on. I've seen that attached to the AC Antichrist spirit for a lot of different reasons. I don't know why. 72 was also when the first arm thing cocktail was made, and they used cells from a fetus from 1972, which they're still using in all the cultures today. They've cloned that same, and people get it willingly. Now it was moved to a national harbor. It depicts a giant embedded in the earth struggling to free himself. It was 72 feet, 22 meters. And again, we've talked about that on this channel, about how there's all these different things attributing to those numbers right now in this time. And I want to tell you something else. I'm going to scroll down. There was a movie filmed in front of him, and the scene is kind of interesting. So we'll look at a few cool things about the history of this, and then we should be able to wrap this one up. So Seward, we're going to get into the guy, and then we're going to get into what I was just it all goes together. He's the grandson of Johnson & Johnson. Co-founder Robert Wood Johnson created the piece. Seward is the grandson of Johnson & Johnson, the co-founder, Robert Wood Johnson. Okay. He created the piece in 1980 for the International Sculpture Conference Exhibition in Washington, D.C., which again, as a whole, this topic is creepy, the way they move these statues around. I get that, I want to see the Mona Lisa. It'd be really cool if it visited my town. But the effort it must take to move them, they never give you something for nothing. They're not going to move all of this and use all those resources. There's a reason for these things that they do. A lot of it's ritualistic, but is there something even further that's going on here? It was originally installed on an open expanse of grassy land, so the water isn't normal, overlooking the water at Haynes Point and East Potomac Park, just a few miles from the National Mall. Owned by the Sculpture Foundation, the Awakening's placement was always considered temporary, thanks largely to a law, this is weird too, enacted in 1986, this is very strange, that banned non-commemorative art from being permanently displayed in any district area, national park. And district area, I looked that up, how they're using it, because it's not just DC, obviously. It's a specialized area of the national park, which is also a specialized area, which gets very complex. But why? Why do they need a law for that, right? And why is there basically to me, why is there one of these giant statues looking like it's coming out of the ground, in a national park with all the things we know now? This is bizarre. Again, this is their homage, their tributes, their whatever you want to call it. So it says the foundation quietly put it on the market, where it remained for several years until Milton V. Peterson, chairman of the Peterson Companies, snapped it up and bought it in 2007. The purchase price, a cool $740,000 he paid for this ginormous guy. As soon as I found it was for sale, I bought it that week. I think it is one of the most demonstrative pieces that we have. You know what else is weird? Is everybody blames it on the Mandela effect. They allegedly moved the Statue of Liberty. And one group of people says you are allowed in the top, and another group of people says you're not. Again, what if these things are being moved around? I don't know, this is all very shady. So we're going to get down here. He is 4,100 pounds, okay? In order to install it, Peterson purchased the 4,100-pound statue in order to install it at National Harbor. His 300-acre mixed-use development consisting of shops, eateries, condominium buildings, hotels, offices, and a convention center, all situated adjacent to the Potomac River in Oxon Hill, Maryland. A beach was constructed in the center of the complex just for this guy to be displayed. Why a beach? It's like they're hiding, because if you put him on, okay, so if you put him on grass, right? I guess maybe the effect wouldn't be as cool, because maybe you'd see the seams or something. But with like sand dunes and dirt, things that move, and you can have like little hills and rolls, maybe it camouflages more. Or maybe there's something even more sinister going on here. Back in the day, I read you a story called Bel and the Dragon, and it's about the prophet Daniel, and it's in the Apocrypha Bible. It's in the original Bible, and it's still in the Catholic Bibles. And it talks about how this fake dragon was constructed by the priests of that time. No kidding. To make all the people leave offerings, and then when all the people left, the priests themselves would steal the offerings. But they had constructed it just so they would actually put food there and it would look like it was eating it somehow, and it actually breathed smoke. But Daniel showed them how this was all done mechanically. They got very mad and called for reparation and removed these people from, their positions and whatnot. And if you think of the Trojan horse as well, I don't want to come right out and say certain things because, I don't care if people call me crazy outright, but I do want you to continue listening to all of the anomalies with all of these issues that are involved in these things. Okay, so we're gonna go back to something else. See if I can find it. Sorry. Why did you leave there? Now, I wanted to look up the scene from the movie that's in, oh, I don't even think you have to know it. They did a movie scene in front of him, okay? And it was in the when he was still in the national park, I believe, in the 80s. And the movie scene is of a guy, and I only saw the picture. I haven't watched the clip yet. I'll maybe watch it. I don't know if I need to. But there is like a gold thing in front of him on a table, almost like a picnic table, and he kills himself in front of this. Think of that spiritually and cult of the occult. Again, it's almost an offering. And if you think of the story of Medusa, of how when people looked at her, her hair would turn them into stone. And then think of the video where we investigated only the statue of Moses and how detailed he is and how large he is as well. So it's very possible that all our relations were a little bit bigger than we are today. I don't think that's the case. It's possible. I don't personally think that's the case. So let's get into the artist a little bit more, because there again are some strange things going on. Now, what's interesting is the East Potomac is a man-made island in the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., and that's where they first installed him. It was established in 1897 by an act of Congress. Why does it take an act of Congress to create? Why did they want to create an island? Anyway, here we go. It was created through land reclamation by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in 1897. Again, there's those late 1800s where I think these things were running around still. And I don't know if the cannibalism curse kicked in. I don't know if we all got in a fight. I'm not quite sure what happened. But there were large people that recently on the earth. So it was created through land reclamation by the U.S. Army Corps. And again, all this stuff matters. Where they decided to put this guy, all the stuff that they've done in front of him and filmed him in now, where they moved him to, and the artist, all that stuff matters, right? We've learned how to investigate, I think, and do our due diligence. It's known for its recreational facilities. It doesn't say why they... Land reclamation, doesn't that mean you're reclaiming land? But if it's man-made, and how are you reclaiming it if you made... See what I mean about the language they use? It's named after George Mason, a founding father and the author of the Virginia Declaration of Rights, which influenced Thomas Jefferson during the drafting of the Declaration of Independence. The park is also home to the National Park Service's National Capital Region headquarters and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Now, if you also think back to other videos that I've done talking about how I believe the ones that are here, something woke up about them, and I also believe some of us have their DNA genetics too. We've been blended. If you think of that, and then you go back to something else I told you, and again, certain things I can't exactly tell you how I know. I'm not psychic. I'm not a prophet. I don't call myself those things. But since 2018, somebody's been helping me a whole lot, telling me, giving me things. I can't really explain it. I call it God. You don't have to. So anyway, Native American Indians, whatever you prefer to call them, the tribes. Just like we get along about Antarctica with other nations, there were certain things that these tribes went around the nations and they did together. One of those things they did were certain rituals to keep these things bound within that land, in these parks. There's a reason that they have different laws. There's a reason that the Native Americans are set apart as well, okay? There's a reason for all of these things, and they all go together. And we just have to put the puzzle together in the right way. But if you think about all of these things, about how in 2018 or 2019, and this goes along, allegedly, one of our presidents made an agreement with aliens. I don't think it was aliens. They want you to think that so people can still function and they're not scared and you can go about your day. They want you to think it's off planet. What's happening is here. And tribulation, when it happens, whether it recurs or not, I'm not sure yet. But these things somehow are here in this time with us now. They are blaming a lot of they're saying it's something other than what it really is, but it's a combination of factors that are involved. Now, again, they used to go and do ceremonies that would keep these beings within, calm, sedate, tranquil, I don't know, maybe even asleep, and within the bounds of the parks. And as long as when we go to the parks, obey certain rules, we're not up for grabs. But the agreement says that they can take so many people every year or whatever. But if you notice, there's a pattern in the people they're taking too. Now, they just call them missing people. And again, there's a few different factors. This isn't the only thing happening. I believe they're also hiding certain people that they want to be safe in this time. That's why certain celebrities are either, being really trashed right now so they can kind of disappear without people questioning where they went. I think that's a thing right now. I think that's been happening since about 2019. Now, let's look at a few more facts about the artist, because again, a lot of this is very occultish, and then I might look up the scene, and then this video will be over. You have a lot of these types of islands too. You have rivers like that look like that in Pittsburgh too, where the East Potomac Island is. Where are you? There we go. So it's 5 different pieces, 17 feet, which is, you have 17, 72. Oh, God, I can't take it. All these numbers personally relate to specific loved ones, like 2 of them all the time, and it's very distressing on my heart, but there's a reason that I do this. Again, it's to tell you what time we're in. East Potomac Park, blah, blah, blah. I have way too many tabs put up, but I wanted to make sure this was working, and I wanted to do a couple other things. Okay, he's an American artist. He lived from 1930 to 2020. So when he created this, he was already 50 years old. He was renowned for his Trompe l'oeil painted bronze statues. He was the grandson of Robert Wood Johnson I, co-founder of Johnson & Johnson. Johnson's sculptures often depict people engaged in daily activities, blending realism with a touch of whimsy. This is very interesting too, where this takes place. Jersey's a wild place. Like, if you pay attention, New Jersey is very wild. It's the whole Slender Man thing. It's the Mothman. New Jersey itself is like steeped in the occult. And I think there's a reason for that. I think they use New Jersey as a certain country that we see a lot on television. And again, they don't show us anything out of this country. It's like we're quarantined or something, at least for the last, I don't know how many years. But anyway, and that's very easy to do if you loop somebody's internet through, you just keep it in the same town. Nobody knows they're not talking to anyone far away. You don't know that. Okay, so what he did, this is very weird. He founded the grounds for sculpture of 42. 42 is a big number in the occult too. There's 42 laws of something. I forget exactly what it is. I think isn't that the number when we looked up the law of Maat? Isn't that Egyptian? Anyway, 42-acre sculpture park in New Jersey. A whole park of these things. This is his most popular, okay? His second most popular is called Double Check. It's a statue of a businessman checking his briefcase. He made it in 1982. It became iconic after being photographed amidst the debris following September 11, 2001. It is now located in Zuccotti Park. Forever Marilyn is the next one that's popular. Again, she had 6 toes on one of her feet. I think a lot of people in Hollywood and in California and on YouTube are very big compared to me. I'm 5 foot, so 8 foot is huge to me. But I think some of the people that we see on the screen, and wouldn't you get lonely if you couldn't have a life and you couldn't go out amongst people? Wouldn't you try and be on the internet and like stream from? But I think this is their time, and this is why they're keeping most people kind of like segregated, isolated. You have a lot of there's a lot of moving parts. But if you pay attention to certain YouTubers and where they go, and when they're against certain backdrops, I can't even explain it. It's just you get to notice certain things, right? And then you keep noticing them. All you got to do is look at Taylor Swift next to Sabrina Carpenter, and it's like, holy cow, she's very broad, like very broad. And I'm not being mean, like she's a beautiful woman, but she's definitely taller than 6 feet. And if you see her on the stage, you can tell. But that's what's deceptive about it, is because you have this star on a stage above everybody else. So there's a lot of, it's a lot of illusion. So Forever Maryland, he did another one called Allow Me in 83. It was called The Umbrella Man as well. It depicts a man in a business suit hailing a cab while holding an umbrella. It has multiple casts displayed in various cities, including Portland, Oregon. His work often celebrates the ordinary moments of life, inviting viewers to engage with art in a relatable way. His sculptures are designed to be interactive. Okay, so now we're going to look up the scene that was filmed in front of the statue. Okay. Hold, please. Let's check this out. The Awakening statue is a filming location. Okay? So we have the numbers there, 1772, 22, all of these things we've seen related to a lot of different very negative things in the world. Okay, he was featured in the opening scene of the movie The Net. Wow, if that isn't saying something. The Net, and he's trying to I envision, they say he's trying to emerge from the ground. That's not exactly what it looks like to me. It looks like he's trying to catch food. He doesn't look, he looks angry, aggressive. All right, so let's see. There was a scene. In a film. Death scene, and then I'll bounce, because I want these. We're going to do one at a time, because I already have a couple more in mind. The Net spot where okay, so this is what happened. The scene that this guy is in 1995, when it was still located at Haynes Point, so that would have been considered a national park, which are technically the homes or the grounds of probably whoever is left, of cryptids, of all the things they don't want us known about, of all the genetically mutated beings. And it's been admitted, it's coming out now. I mean, there's a guy drinking his son's blood, and everybody's okay with it. Nobody is protesting that this guy created this company called Ambrosia, and the product is the blood of young people. What's going on, guys? Why are we all so slow to do something, or to even just speak out and use our voices? So back in 95, when it was still at Haynes Point, when I would consider certain things to be offerings at this point, the statue was featured in the opening scene of The Net as the spot where the Secretary of Defense, Senator Bergstrom, or Ken Howard, ended himself. Did he ever make movies after that? Because again, there's something going on with those too. Snuff films are still in existence. They still make their rounds. And you've probably seen some and not even realized it, because that's not what it's called. But I wonder if it was some type of offering or mock offering to this being. And it's interesting that the movie is called The Net. So now, if you stayed and were patient enough for this whole thing and you put all of those little tidbits together, How do you put the puzzle together? What do you come up with? I apologize for turning the comments off. I just wanted to see if this would work, and it did. Because like I said, I trust this a little more right now. I am going to move to my laptop so that we can scroll through a list of strange, ginormous statues that are kind of all over right now. But right now we're going to kind of do them at one at a time till I get used to this new schedule and see how it goes. We'll just see how you guys like it. So I'm going to end this one. I'm going to go bake some cookies, and hopefully it's, the high today was 27. I asked for 40. Right now we're at, ironically enough, we're at 33. So yay for me. God's good when I ask for certain weather. I usually get what I want. Oh, let me tell you about something highly strange that happened the other day. Real quick. This is my dog's thing so that he doesn't lose it, because he likes to itch on stuff and he loses things all the time. I put crosses on him, little medals, he loses them. So I wear it now. This is his old one. I was waiting for his new one, and I was thinking, you know, I hope I get blue. I hope I get blue. I hope I get blue, because we haven't had blue yet, and it's my favorite. And the envelope got here. My son was standing there, and he could vouch for me. He won't, but he could vouch for me. And I touched the envelope, and as soon as I touched it, I said, dang it, it's red. And I don't like red. I only like red in small doses. I guess there's a reason for that now that I understand certain things, but it's red. When I try to tell you something and I tell you I know this, can't tell you how I know, I just know. I know. I'm not being arrogant. I want to help. Please be very careful right now. If you do go out in nature, follow the leave no trace behind, and follow whatever rules are posted. I know some people want to be a rebel just to be a rebel. We don't want to be tracked. And I think tracking in one way was meant to help us because of the time that we are living in. But again, all these things can be used for nefarious purpose too, because they are just things. In the end, it's all about heart, our hearts, and are they pure? And if you want help with how to clean up your mind and stuff, I can help with that too. Not personally, I can just offer, you know, things that worked for me. But anyways, I'm going to run. I'm going to go bake some cookies. You guys have a blessed day. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll talk again soon. Bye, guys.